Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone out there, how you doing? Hopefully you're having a great day. You are ready for some Computer America, and hey, you are looking to be informed, because today is all about information, and of course we will be doing computer and technology news. So let's go ahead and get things started here. So everyone, welcome into the program. First things first, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including a link for today's show notes. It will have any articles that we do, any videos that we show, anything and everything that we talk about here today. You can, of course, find at our website, computeramerica.com. While you're there, check out some of our contests, check out some of the past shows, future shows. We have the video portion up there. We have the podcast, reviews, articles, things like that. A lot of great content if you haven't checked it out. And we'll be sure to let you know whenever we post something new. So there you go, computeramerica.com. Definitely want to get that out there. Thank you for tuning into IRN, for, of course, listening to Computer America. And I think with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started with computer and technology news. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so lots of different stories. We have a lot of stories. How about we go ahead and get started with So a lot of great ones. I want to talk about this one. So a trend that has been happening for a while now, if you have not been paying attention, is the idea of a subscription model. It's to put it mildly, the subscription model is it's running rampant. I guess people, from a psychological standpoint, as opposed to, say, buying something for the full cost, they are more than willing to pay less for more, but they don't actually own it. You can think of something like Netflix, where you used to buy DVDs of your favorite movies and things like that. Netflix came along. Sure, they didn't have all the DVDs that you wanted, but hey, you could have them sent to your mailbox. Remember when Netflix did that? Or you could watch their streaming service. Taken to the nth degree, you have everything from, so for subscription services, you have everything from grocery subscription service, you have Amazon Prime Pantry that can actually send you stuff on a subscription-based model. Just so much of our lives nowadays, again, from a psychological standpoint, it's people are willing to pay a fraction of what they used to. Think of Adobe products. We just used this example last week. Think of Adobe products, where instead of paying $1,000 for the full Adobe suite, you instead pay $15 or $35 or $30 a month. Obviously, in the long term, if you find yourself using these products for an extended period of time, you will be paying more functionally for these items than you would if you just bought them once. But hey, that's okay with the companies in that it takes a little bit longer to get their full return back than they normally would, but they get a steady flow of income. They can say, hey, we have 1 million subscribers, And those subscriptions translate into a monthly income that they can then work with. It's much better than the hit or miss, kind of economy where you buy it once, especially if it's something like a piece of technology or a video game or something else. You only get one chance to get someone to really buy it, and then after your initial sales, things will drop off. You have the secondhand market, and otherwise you just really don't see the sales that you get when something is new. So the subscription model has taken out a lot of the guesswork, and I bring all this up because now we are entering yet another one. And I thought this one was interesting, so let's go ahead and talk about it. Nike, you know them, they make shoes. Nike rolls out a subscription service, there you go, for kids' sneakers. Hey, and, I do not have kids of my own, but I do remember being a kid pretty vividly and running out of shoes. I mean, it was awesome. You got to go shop for new shoes at, is Payless still a thing? Yeah, we got to go shop for shoes at Payless. And, for the longest time, Velcros, all the rage. Love them. But picking out shoes, it was almost a yearly, if not bi-yearly tradition because we would just outgrow them too fast. So I guess this is where we are. Well, I guess this is where we're heading. So as the article mentioned, this one from Engadget, Mr. Chris Holt, and as I was saying before, everything from streaming, productivity software, health tracking apps, clothing, or deliveries, companies are adopting a subscription model to keep customers hooked and bring in revenue. So the latest to join into the fray is Nike, who unleashed a subscription service for kids sneakers, called Nike Adventure Club. Nike Adventure Club. Parents will have the option to order shoe sizes for sizes 4C to 7Y, which is roughly kids from 2 to 10. I have no idea what young kids' shoe sizes are. So 4C to 7Y. That's all you get. On a monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly basis, costing about $50, $30, or $20 per month, respectively. So obviously, if you want monthly shoes coming to you, you pay $50. If you want shoes coming to you every 2 months, you pay $30. If you want shoes coming to you every 3 months, then you would you would sign up for the $20 per month plan. Kid sneakers typically retail for about $60, so monthly subscribers will save about $10 a pair. You can alter the frequency of the delivery or pause your plan to see as fit. Focusing on children for this plan is a smart idea. I completely agree. Kids can outgrow or ruin shoes quickly, so having a pair drop into one's mailbox every so often could help parents save time and money if they opt in for the monthly option in particular. So obviously $50 a month, and you don't have to worry about your kid destroying his shoes, losing his shoes, outgrowing his shoes. All you have to do is just set it up so that, hey, within a couple of weeks, a new pair will be coming right there. So they said that there are more than 100 variety of shoes, so plenty to choose from, including Converse sneakers. Each box will have the kid's name on the side and will include stickers and a guide for games and activities, as well as a bonus gift, which for anyone out there who I'm sure has experienced those mystery boxes, I'm sure it will include some kind of cheap crap that your kid will find minutes of entertainment with. Now, let's go ahead and say that the company has been testing the model under the radar for a couple of years, enticing around 10,000 members to a service called Easy Kicks through Facebook ads. So it looks like the trial run has been going well enough that they decided, hey, let's go ahead and really unveil it to the public. Nike's subscription may not stop with kids, and it suggested that there may be more plans on the way. And among them could be a service for runners who naturally wear out sneakers fairly quickly. Perhaps there will also be ones tailored to sneakerheads who are desperate to get their hands on the latest Jordans. And sneakerheads, people who are fanatical about their shoe sneaker. Just like classic cars have people who really appreciate them, just like classic cars, just like guns or computers or anything else that has a massive collection side to it. Sneakers are one of them. I was surprised to hear that myself, but turns out it's true. Sneakers are very, very collectible. So there you go. That's that article. We have moved further into the subscription service era because now you can get kids' sneakers to do that. Okay, so that one pretty light, not very complicated. I did just find that one interesting. Let's go ahead and talk about, and let's see. All right, so this might be one of the biggest stories of the day. Admittedly, we have a lot of big stories, and I haven't really rated them on a scale of 1 to 10. But if there was a scale, I'd rate this either a 9 or a 10. This thing is huge. So check this one out. This is for anyone out there who has ever owned a product. And I'm going to list a couple of these companies. If you have ever owned a product from the likes of Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, ASRock, AMI, Gigabyte, Realtek, Huawei, and more. That's right, up to 20 different vendors. And I think the fact that Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA are all affected by this, yeah, that means that probably 90% of the market is as well. So at DEF CON 27 security conference in Las Vegas, and by the way, if you didn't know, DEF CON today. Hey, we have a couple of articles about that. Really looking forward to talking about that. So researchers from Eclipsium gave a talk about the common design flaws that they found in more than 40 kernel drivers from 20 different hardware vendors. The common design flaw is that low-privilege applications can use legitimate driver functions to execute malicious actions in the most sensitive areas of the Windows operating system, such as the Windows kernel. So obviously, when you run something in the kernel, it's much more lower level than a lot of other operations. Where if you, let's say you have a virus scanner or you have some kind of anti-malware, they will check different executables and say, hey, is this supposed to be accessing this part? Is this, does this remind us of any of the other malware in our dictionary? Does it match any definitions? Blah, blah, blah. But when you run something in the kernel, it runs even before it's checked by those systems. So it's very, very hard to get off, very, very hard to detect. And if it's on there, it's really hard to get it off. Now, they have a quote here saying that there are a number of hardware resources that are normally only accessible by privileged software, such as the Windows kernel, and need to be protected from malicious read writes from user space applications. The design flaw surfaces when signed drivers provide functionality which can be misused by user space applications to perform arbitrary read-write of these sensitive resources without any restrictions or checks from Microsoft. There you go. And by the way, those drivers, I'm sure that those drivers could be anything from mice, headphones, speakers, keyboards, I'm sure I said mice already, monitors, any peripheral that you would, of course, plug in, webcams, any device that you plug in and it would have drivers for. Yeah, if you had access to those drivers and put in fake drivers that at least passed the sniff test, you could then have very low-level access. Saying that this is a common software design anti-pattern where rather than making the driver only perform specific tasks, it's written in a flexible way to just perform arbitrary actions on behalf of user space. Saying, quote, it's easier to develop software by structuring drivers and applications this way, but it opens up the system for exploitation. So essentially, it's not really a flaw. It's a design feature, and I know that's such a meme that it's not a bug, it's a feature, but really that's how it is. It's to make sure that anyone who designs a keyboard or a mouse, as long as you stay within these parameters of making your drivers, your mouse will work. That flexibility makes it so that, hey, a Razer mouse is not the same as Logitech mouse, is not the same as an Apple mouse, is not the same as every other mouse. They all have to follow patterns, but they don't have to be the exact same device, which, of course, you could make the drivers much more strict, but then every device would be essentially the same device. They said that the impacted vendors include everything from AMI, ASRock, Asus Tech, of course, ATI Technologies, who is, of course, AMD, Biostar, EVGA. I don't think I'm going to go through the whole list, but some of the other notable ones are, of course, Realtek, Supermicro, Toshiba, Huawei, Intel, NVIDIA, and MSI. More and more and more. It's a pretty big list of vendors. They said that some vendors, like Intel and Huawei, have already issued updates. Some, which are IBVs or independent BIOS vendors, like Phoenix and Inside, are releasing their updates to their customers' OEMs. So, let's see. So, however, they said that the feature is only supported on 7th gen Intel CPUs and onwards. Manual intervention will be needed on older systems and even on newer Intel CPUs where HVCI can't be enabled. There you go. And by the way, HVCI is Hypervisor Enforced Code Integrity capability to blacklist drivers that are reported to them. So essentially, it would say, it's like an anti-malware, but for bad drivers. That's really the point of it. So there you go. They've disclosed it, and really that's what happens at these hacking events at Black Hat and DEF CON. Although this was at DEF CON, security researchers from around the world gather together and show off what's happening in the tech world, what's happening, why it's happening, and really it's a very informative and scary time if you own a tech company. So there you go. All right, so there's that one, and I think we had another one about DEF CON here I really wanted to get to because it was about a banned speech. And let's see if I can find that real quick. So let's see. It was not, although this might, no, that was not connected to that one. Man, I am so sorry. I could have sworn I just had this one here. All right, so eventually we'll find it, and eventually we will go ahead and do the story. In the meantime, let's go ahead and move. Oh, wait, I lied. Here it is. Looked right over it. Okay, so now turn your attention to the video portion of the show. Black Hat talk about time AI causes uproar, is deleted by conference. And it's not very often you hear a convention about spilling the beans on other companies and just really things that can get you in trouble. A convention that's kind of built on that, and then they say, hey, this is too much for us, we got to delete this. That doesn't happen all too often. So they said that a controversial sponsored talk at the Black Hat Security Conference caused an uproar among security professionals and prompted the conference to delete the talk from the internet. We'll see if they can actually delete it. So attendees at the Black Hat Security Conference in Las Vegas ridiculed a sponsored talk where the speaker made questionable claims about a new and innovative encryption method on Thursday. So this looks like hokum more than it is any kind of mistake. So Robert Grant, of a company called Crown Sterling, gave a talk titled, quote, "The 2019 discovery of quasi-prime numbers, what does this mean for encryption?" in which he explained a mysterious technology called time AI. I'll admit, I've heard of AI, I've heard of time, I've never heard of the two put together. And after attendees criticized it, the conference took it down from its website. So people in attendance, as well as security researchers who were following it on Twitter, made fun of the talk and criticized the conference for letting Grant speak. Don Guido, the CEO of cybersecurity consulting firm Trail of Bits, even got up and challenged the speaker, accusing him of potentially putting people in danger by pitching an unproven encryption technology. And that's really notable. I really like that someone was able to understand what he's talking about and then saying, hey, that's a complete load of bull honky, and this person shouldn't be speaking. And especially when you speak to a crowd full of experts in their field, and DEF CON and Black Hat are definitely those where it's not just enthusiasts, but they're professionals who work in the field and who are actually follow this on a day-to-day. A lot of them go strictly for information, and it's nice to see that they can even digest information and say, hey, that's not true. They have a quote here from Guido, who said that they're scamming people. They're here to use Black Hat to trick people into giving them money. It's fraud. Other people in the audience tried to reason with them that the math isn't right, but they don't care about that. It's offensive, and they shouldn't get the benefit of using our names in our event to commit fraud. They said that Motherboard was not in attendance at the talk. Guido and others tweeted about it as it was happening, describing claims that are similar to those Crown Sterling made in the video, which feature a collection of math and cryptography buzzwords such as infinite wave conjugation and quasi-prime numbers. I never did well in math, but yeah, if they want to say that those are not true things, then who am I to judge? And they even have the Time AI, which is still up on YouTube. It's still up there. Now, they said that they look like scam artists, a cryptographer who used to work at Facebook and said ahead of the talk after reviewing material posted by the company online. The uproar caused by the attendees forced the organization of Black Hat to respond, taking down the talk's material from its website. Saying, quote, "We are aware of the situation with Crown Sterling talk and have removed it from our website. Content discussed in Black Hat sponsored sessions are determined by the individual sponsor. However, we are working to implement a stronger vetting process moving forward to avoid this from happening in the future." There you go. They said that usually talks submitted to Black Hat go through an approval process managed by a review board of industry experts, but as in this case, companies can also pay to play and get these sponsored talks, which are not vetted for quality. On its part, Crown Sterling is denying any wrongdoing and defending its technology and talk, saying that, quote, "We stand by the accuracy of the talk and will continue to do so," and that was a spokesperson. So there you go. And whenever these things happen, trust me, there are a lot of scam artists in tech, because especially when it's cutting edge, when it's something that not a lot of people know about, if you can throw in artificial intelligence, machine learning, if you can throw in cryptocurrency mining, if you can throw in these buzzwords that have earned just a few people a lot of money in different situations and say, hey, we can be the next X, but better, if you can just sound like you know what you're talking about enough, you will be able to trick a lot of people. Luckily, at this talk, they were not able to trick the industry experts, so that's a good thing. You can, of course, check out the video. And again, they said that they did nothing wrong. They said that their technology is completely legit. Everyone else is wrong. They are right, I'm sure. So there you go. Okay, so there's that one. There's Black Hat and DEF CON. That just happened today and last week. If you want to check those out, I'm sure that we'll have more stories up, and we should definitely find someone to come on the show and talk about those. But I digress. Let's continue on. How about we talk about, I just mentioned a couple things about cryptocurrency and stuff like that, and this article really raised a couple of alarm bells for me, so let's go ahead and talk about it. China. Yeah, that's a lot of alarm bells already. China has one of these problems where they are very authoritarian. They're the second largest economy in the world, and they are using technology in such a pervasive manner. It's hard to see them as anything but, being really, really willing to take technology to its nth degree just to remain in control of the situation. Now, so when you hear about China, of course, you can think about the forced re-education camps. You can think about the forced facial recognition and digital surveillance, the social credit score, so on and so forth. It's very dangerous times to be in China. Now, looks like they are taking one more play out of the book. And check this one out. It's about cryptocurrency, or I should say digital currency, not so much cryptocurrency. This is by John Finkus. This was published yesterday, actually, saying that as much as China frowns on cryptocurrency, it's happy to introduce its own form of virtual cash, saying that the People's Bank of China has revealed that its digital currency can now is now said to be ready to use after 5 years of work. Saying, of course, don't expect it to mimic crypto. However, according to a payments deputy chief, it'll use a more complex structure, which cryptocurrency, I wouldn't call it completely complex. You can understand it if you do some research. But the idea is that you have this giant ledger that is stored everywhere. And the cryptocurrency is then checked against the ledger so that you would have to change everywhere that ledger is stored, which would be in bits and pieces on servers and hard drives all around the world. You would have to change every single one of those to say that, hey, why can't I just go into my digital wallet and just add a couple zeros to it? No, because then it would not agree with the ledger that is held everywhere else, and your transaction would be kicked back or at least kicked out or not used because it's not verified against the master ledger. So it's not complicated, but it's pretty foolproof. There has been a lot of conversation about the possibilities of cryptocurrency and the blockchain and things like that. And of course, what I just described was the blockchain, which many cryptocurrencies utilize. But the point is that for China to just come out and say it uses a more complex structure, complex does not mean secure. Complex, I'm having a hard time thinking about what complex would mean in a scenario when it comes to digital currency. But saying that it will, let's go ahead and get into the article. Saying that it will rely on a two-tier split with the People's Bank on top and commercial banks below, ostensibly to help deal with the sheer size of China's economy and population, which really a population of 1.3 billion people. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of transactions if this really takes off. Also, it won't rely entirely on blockchain that forms the backbone of cryptocurrencies. It just couldn't deliver the throughput needed for retail, which makes sense because, again, that's something that Bitcoin is having to deal with. Of course, they're working on it with the Lightning Network, but when you have 1.3 billion people going back and checking the ledger every single time you make a transaction, before you make a transaction, after you make a transaction, so on and so forth, you can see where that would add time, and over time, a lot of extra time. It's just not good for retail. So they said that there's no mention of just when the currency would be ready. China does have a motivation to roll out monetary formats sooner than later. The nation has reportedly argued that cryptocurrency creates disorder, with speculators selling off regular currency and buying up the virtual kind. This new approach might create stability. It's also no shock that the Chinese government would want a digital currency system that it could control. And really, that's the name of the game: control. Officials have spent years trying to increase China's independence from foreign tech, and this would be the next logical step. And it would be a huge step if they were able to not only control the currency, but control the flow of currency to other countries. Hey, when it's cash, yeah, you might have some say over where it gets spent. But at least with digital, you can 100% guarantee that it will never go into a bank account that is not approved by the People's Republic of China. Scary stuff. China is getting a whole new toy to play with. And if it takes off like I'm thinking they're going to make it take off, then this could be a very dangerous thing. So there you go. Okay, we have time to just introduce our next story, and then we'll get into it after the break. For everyone out there listening, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning into Computer America. How about we talk about, this one. Apple Lightning cables. They're pretty cool devices. They're very simple. I definitely enjoy the fact that, you really can't mess up plugging it into your phone. But turns out now you can. because there are counterfeits Apple iPhone Lightning cables that if you plug it into your computer and then plug your phone into it, or your iPod, or your iPod, your iPhone, your iPad, whatever it may be, you can, of course, then hijack it. So check this out. This is from Motherboard, and they said that these legit-looking iPhone Lightning cables will hijack your computer. And we'll go ahead and talk about how this happened, how to spot them, and what they actually do when we come right back. So everyone, stay tuned. More Computer America right after this. Everyone, we'll be right back.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And everyone out there, thank you for tuning in. We were just about to get into this article about none other than counterfeit Lightning cables. That's right. They said that the cable comes with various payloads. Well, actually, let's go ahead and start from the beginning of this article. And, we're just going to skip through it real quick. But pretty interesting. And by the way, this was indeed shown off at DEF CON. So he said that I plugged the Apple Lightning cable into my iPod and connected it to my Mac just as I normally would. My iPod started charging, iTunes detected the device, and my iPod produced the pop-up asking if I wanted to trust this computer. All expected behavior. But this cable was hiding a secret, where a short while later, a hacker remotely opened a terminal on my Mac screen, letting them run commands on my computer as they saw fit. This is because this wasn't a regular cable. Instead, it was modified to include an implant, an extra component placed inside the cable, letting the hacker remotely connect to the computer. Saying that, quote, "It looks like a legitimate cable and works just like one. Not even your computer will notice a difference. Until I, as an attacker, wirelessly take control of the cable." And that was a security researcher known as MG who made these cables, told Motherboard after he showed how it works at the annual DEF CON. And one idea is to take this malicious tool, dubbed OMG cable, and swap it for a target's legitimate one. MG suggested that you may even give the malicious version as a gift to the target. The cables even come with some of the correct little pieces of packaging holding them together, which if you're looking at the video portion, you can see here, Apple packages theirs in a very specific way, and this person was even able to duplicate that. He was able to type in the IP address of a fake cable on his own phone's browser and was presented with a list of options, such as opening a terminal on his Mac, and from there, a hacker can run all sorts of tools on the victim's computer, saying it's like being able to sit at the keyboard and mouse of the victim, but without actually being there. So, there you go. They said that the cable comes with various payloads or scripts and commands that an attacker can run on the victim's machine. A hacker can also remotely kill the USB plant, hopefully hiding some evidence of its use or existence. So essentially, the USB would still be usable as its base intended purpose, which would be a charging / communication cable between your devices, but then it's able to remotely kill the implant so that it's just a cable once again. So he said that in the end, I was able to create 100% of the implant in my kitchen and then integrate it into a cable, and these prototypes at DEF CON are mostly done the same way. He did point to other researchers who worked on the implant and graphical user interface. He is selling the cables for $200 each. Think about that. This is someone's proof of concept. He's showing it off at DEF CON, saying, hey, you can, check this out. This is something that I have been working on in my kitchen. But he's gotten it to the point where he's selling them for $200. Interesting. So he's saying that I'm currently seeing up to 300 feet with a smartphone when connecting directly, and when asked how close an attacker needs to be to take advantage of the cable once a victim has plugged it into his machine, so about 300 feet, so about obviously a football field, if that makes it easier for you, a football field's length away. A hacker could use a stronger antenna to reach further if necessary, but the cable can be configured to act as a client to a nearby wireless network, and if that wireless network has an internet connection, the distance basically becomes unlimited, because then it would be wherever these things are connected to the internet. He wants to get the cables produced as a legitimate security tool. He said that the company Hack5 is on board with making that happen. These cables would be made from scratch rather than a modified Apple cable. He said that they were simply the most difficult to do this with, so if he can successfully implant one with an Apple Lightning cable, then he could do it with any of them. So I guess that's the point, is that he wants to use the same technology, but the idea of targeting only iPhones, not truly the intended purpose. So, very, very cool. Let's go ahead and talk about... Let's go ahead and talk about YouTube real quick. And I got the thumbs up from someone before the show about this, and I had some of my own ideas. I'm looking forward to seeing if my own preconceived notions are correct. And by the way, this is a rather lengthy article. We're not going to go over it completely, but hey, this came out 2 days ago in the Next Web. So, let's see. So, they said that study most YouTube videos on climate change, very real danger by the way, deny its existence. That's right, most YouTube videos on climate change deny its existence. Saying that if you search for climate change on YouTube, and before long, you'll likely find a video that denies it exists. In fact, when it comes to shaping the online conversation around climate change, a new study suggests that deniers and conspiracy theorists might hold an edge over those believing in science. Researchers found evidence that most YouTube videos relating to climate change oppose the scientific consensus that it's primarily caused by human activities. So the study highlights that the key role of social media use in the spread of scientific misinformation, and it suggests that scientists and those who support them need to be more active in developing creative and compelling ways to communicate their findings. But more importantly, we need to be worried that the effects of the maliciously manipulated scientific information can have on our behavior individually and as a society. So really, it seems like to me, just real quick about this, is that the reason that more YouTube videos would be against climate science would be because anyone who is a reputable scientist, if they're going to publish or make their findings accessible to the population, they're going to submit their paper, their thesis. They're going to put it in a peer-reviewed journal. They are going to have the abstract and have it linked somewhere, and there you go. You would circulate it among your peers, and that's how you would get it out. And then, of course, you hope and you pray that the media picks it up, sees it, and says, "Oh wow, hey, check this out. Look at what these researchers are doing." That's how traditionally they've gotten the information out. But it seems like those who are opposite of climate scientists and things like that, they don't get published in peer-reviewed journals. They don't have the benefit of having this whole organization dedicated to spreading information among their peers. No, they have YouTube, and they have a webcam, and they have a microphone, or even sometimes just their cell phone, and they can record a video and put in some production value and just say, hey, check, or not even any production value, and just sit in front of a camera and just start spouting off any stupid thing that they want. For better or worse, that is their end goal. That is the height, the pinnacle of them being able to disseminate their misinformation. As opposed to, again, scientists who have many other places to publish their findings that are going to be much more relevant. It's not a lot of people in the public are going to go out and read these long scientific journal entries or these papers or these articles. They're just really not that interesting, but they're the truth. So it's either the entertaining lie or the very boring truth. That, I think, is the problem that we're running into with YouTube, is that climate scientists just aren't making interesting videos, or at least by a wide margin, there are more videos being made that are not true. So, and the article continues talking about health misinformation as well, and a lot more. And it wraps up by saying that scientists need to get involved, saying that another possible solution may be to hone people's ability to think critically so that they can tell the difference between actual scientific information and conspiracy theories. For example, a district in Kerala has launched a data literacy initiative across nearly 150 public schools to empower children with the skills to differentiate between authentic and fake information. Of course, it's still in its early days, but it's already evident that this can make a difference. Scientists also need to be more involved and fight to make sure that the work isn't being dismissed or misused, and in the case of terms like geoengineering being hijacked by YouTube climate deniers. Conspiracy theorists rise on the appeal of certainties, however fake, whereas uncertainty is inherent to the scientific process. So there you go. They said the science needs to leverage this agreement to its maximum and communicate to the public using innovative and persuasive strategies. Essentially, again, scientists are scientists. They're boring. If they were teachers, if they were presenters, if they were public speakers, if they were personalities, they might have chosen another line of work. Scientists are scientists because they enjoy, just really the facts of it, of finding the facts and finding the truth, and there you go. Presenting it was never really the issue. You have your answer. If anyone out there who's looking for it, they can come find it themselves. Whereas everyone else, hey, they're now fighting against personalities. They are now fighting against talking heads who are much less qualified, but much more engaging. And that's a problem. So there you go. There's that article, and plenty more to talk about here. Let's see. So, you know what? Science to science. Let's go ahead and talk about these two different space-themed stories. And I like this one a lot. Scientists find, check this out, and this is just to, entertain the brain here. Tickle that part of your brain that likes to learn things. This is from John Fingus from Engadget, and scientists find the largest observed black hole to date. That's right. If you are measuring these things, I mean, these things are already immeasurably massive with the amount of matter that they are able to suck in to a singularity, the amount of gravity that they're pushing out. The idea of one being larger than the other seems like a very weird distinction to make, but we have it. Saying that it's 10,000 times larger than the one at the heart of the Milky Way galaxy. And trust me, if you don't know anything about supermassive black holes, yeah, they are called supermassive for a reason. So astronomers aren't done with major black hole discoveries this year. The Max Planck Institute's, Kianush Mergen. I'm sure I mispronounced that. I apologize, but there you go. And colleagues have found the largest black hole ever observed at the center of Home 15A, a galaxy about 700 million light years away. So luckily that means that this black hole, the largest black hole ever recorded, is luckily 700 million light years away. That's good. It's more than twice as large as the previous observed record at 40 billion times the mass of the sun and 10,000 times the size of the mass of the black hole at the core of the Milky Way. So to get those numbers right, it looks like it's more than twice as large as the previous record setter. So this black hole is about 80 billion times the mass of our sun. It's pretty crazy. The team spotted the black hole using data from the Very Large Telescope Array. The wealth of extra data from the Chile Observatory helped them map the structure of Home 15A in an unprecedented detail, helping them run simulations to explain the galaxy's formation and its unusually faint center. Simply speaking, the black hole is so powerful and so large, its radius is about 790 astrological units, that it has either swallowed up the closest stars or tossed them toward the galaxy's edge. So this black hole is so big that, like most spiral galaxies and whatnot, it's so big that it's only a nice big dark patch in the middle, followed by a very bright edge. Very interesting. So they said that this isn't necessarily the largest black hole detected. That distinction goes to quasar TON 618, which indirect studies suggest that it could be about 66 billion times the sun's mass. Oh, so it was 40, 20, now we have 66, but that was never actually measured. It's still gigantic, though, and it's about 4 to 9 times than astronomers expected. The discovery could significantly expand humanity's understanding of the scale of the universe, not to mention the fundamentals like galaxy formation. I just found that one interesting, that we're still discovering things that even the most educated among us are still going, wow, I didn't even think that was possible. And that was one of them. And so this one also kind of astronomy, but in a very technical, it's grounded in technology, very much so. So this one from John Fingus again, supercomputers creates millions of virtual universes. Hey, if you ever wanted one for yourself, this could be your chance. Saying it could provide many answers about the evolution of galaxies. Very cool. They said that, so rather than portray every nuance of the whole universe, the team devised a system that had just enough resolution to scale from supernova to a sizable chunk of the observed universe. Each virtual universe had a different set of rules, and it was largely a matter of seeing which simulations lined up closest with the real data. And the production was roughly 8 million simulated universes, took just 3 weeks. So just 3 weeks, but yeah, one supercomputer spent 3 weeks making millions of tiny universes. And these things were not even full-blown universes, but just, kind of tiny rule-abiding universes. So the approach is not only helping to understand how galaxies evolve, but it's challenging existing theories. To begin with, galaxies may produce stars for considerably longer than previously thought. Star formation should have ended ages ago under existing models, and dark matter might not have been quite so hostile to the formation of the universe's early era. So, scientists aren't necessarily going to toss out their current knowledge. There could be gaps in the data, and there will be plenty of room for finer grained detail as computing performance improves. Even so, this could still represent a boon for science, certainly for anyone worried that it could take decades or centuries before computers could come close to providing useful recreations. And by the way, there you go. This is a prime example of why we need supercomputers, why it's a benefit for any country or any institutions who have access to supercomputers, why you want the latest, greatest, biggest, best. It's not just a contest. It actually has real ramifications for scientific knowledge, scientific data, and in a lot of ways, if, let's say, instead of simulating galaxies to see how early universes were born or things like that, instead of that, if you apply it to, say, something like metamaterial, hey, this can provide a real monetary incentive. So there you go. Definitely like that one, and supercomputers proving ever so useful. How about we talk about, Okay, this one's not as scary as some of the other ones I kind of glossed over right there, but this one's pretty cool. How about we discuss megapixels? If you don't know what a megapixel is, it is the unit to which I think it's the sensor picks up information. So, many phones out there, I remember back when phones used to just be like, it's 6 megapixels, it's 20 megapixels. About 20 is where we're at now. Some have 50, 60, things like that. Those are really, really good cameras. Megapixels are not the end-all, be-all of the quality of a camera, but it does provide you a certain level of being able to zoom into a picture that you've already taken. It does provide a finer detail, things like that. But more is good. Don't get me wrong, more is good. So check this article out here. Samsung's, and by the way, this is from The Verge, John Porter. Samsung's 108 megapixel camera sensor is coming to smartphones soon. I feel like you didn't react strongly enough to that. 108 megapixel camera. 108. Like I said, 20 is pretty high end. 50 or 60 is something that we've only seen in specialty phones that are truly dedicated to the 4K movement and are for camera nuts. 108 megapixel is just insane. So, less than a week after we saw our first images about the Samsung 64 megapixel mobile sensor, the company has announced a new sensor with more than 50% more pixels. The Samsung ISOCELL Bright HMX, which has been designed in collaboration with Xiaomi, is a 108 megapixel smartphone camera sensor that Samsung says is the first to surpass 100 million pixel milestone for phones. And by the way, when it comes to megapixel, gigapixel, that kind of thing, there are bigger images. Of course, many of them are kind of sewn together, from multiple sensors and forms, or from multiple sensors and multiple pictures all stitched together. We have much more than this, but it's the idea that it's able to do this in a mobile phone. And by the way, check this out. It's able to produce high resolution photographs, and the sensor can also shoot 6K video. 6K video at 6,000 by 3,300 pixels at 30 frames per second. Admittedly, the 30 frames per second doesn't really entice me all that much, but the 6K video, that's something special. So in reality, you're unlikely to ever need a photo with this high of a resolution, so the sensor is also able to produce a high-quality 27 megapixel image by combining groups of 4 pixels into one. That results in an image that is lower resolution overall, but it should mean it's far brighter, helping low light performance. Meanwhile, the sensor is also equipped with what they call Smart ISO technology, which will automatically adjust the sensor's ISO levels to compensate for bright or low light environment. So essentially, this camera could be really, really good, is essentially what they're saying. Neither Samsung nor Xiaomi have announced which phone will be the first to use this sensor. However, it's large, which is about 1 by 1.33 inch, and is around 3/4 of the size of the 1-inch sensor found in the Sony RX100V7 compact camera. Means that it's not going to fit every smartphone out there. I can only imagine this will be in plus-size phones and larger phones. So there you go. Still looking for which phone this is actually going to be in, but a 108 megapixel smartphone camera. That's huge. That's really impressive. Can't wait to see it. Let's go ahead and wrap up because I think we have time for about one more story. So I still get messages from one of our guests here on the show, not going to name names, but they still send me messages through the Computer America Skype account about the viability of 5G. And I don't mean, 5G, it's not going to be strong enough to get through walls. It's going to be very short distance. It's, the throughput's not going to be as great as it is in laboratory tests, so on and so forth. Not about the viability of 5G, but about some of the more dangerous aspects of 5G and to a lesser extent, LED lights. Yeah, one of those kind of people. So let's go ahead and talk about the FCC. 5G is safe. So the FCC says that 5G is safe, but that won't stop conspiracy theorists. And this is by Jeremy Horowitz for VentureBeat, saying that most of the scientific community has already concluded that the latest generation of cellular technology, 5G, is at least as safe to human health as 2G, 3G, and 4G technologies. Which, by the way, I've heard some arguments that cell phone technology is causing certain types of cancer. I have not heard widespread talk about this. I don't think there's much consensus that yes, it does indeed, but there's research going into it. I look forward to seeing what that research has to say, but who knows? They said that, but once radio emission safety questions were raised in the United States, the FCC took another look at the evidence. After an extended review, the agency has just given 5G a fairly definitive thumbs up for safety, even though the high level of reassurance is unlikely to stop conspiracy theorists from suggesting otherwise. And by the way, like I said, I've had to deal with them. On paper, the FCC findings stop short of explicitly declaring any cellular technology trouble-free, but if you parse the legalese, that conclusion is hard to ignore. They said that they will continue to ensure the health and safety of workers and consumers of wireless technology by maintaining the Commission's existing radio frequency exposure limits for handheld devices are among the most stringent in the world. But more simply put, the FCC says that using your cell phone is already operating within strict, safe limits, and that as the 5G era dawns, there's no need to reduce the signal strength. So, to underscore the belief in safety, the FCC notes that its radio emission standards were developed in close consultation with other federal agencies, blah, blah, blah. Here's the problem. Unfortunately, and this is from the author of the article, saying that I doubt that those conclusions will have enough to put the issue to rest. As the same time as it offered those assurances, the FCC said that it plans to seek public comments on a rule to formalize the Commission's existing methods of determining compliance with the RF exposure standard for devices. They said that, again, decoded, that's saying that the FCC has already an unofficial way to approve high-frequency equipment, but for legal reasons, it needs to take public input into account before formalizing the compliance standard. So, there you go. Small anti-5G groups have popped up to protest radio towers that they think are poisoning people, birds, and bees. If this public comment period proceeds like the past one, the FCC will open its comment box to listen to them and others who have their own reasons to oppose 5G, and then abruptly dismiss their concerns en masse before moving on to the next issue. On the one hand, this is entirely understandable, because obviously government officials and scientists pretty much, there's no need to keep debating whether or not 5G is safe. They suggest that high-frequency millimeter waves are even less capable of penetrating the human body and supposedly causing cancer than the low-frequency signals caused by 2, 3, and 4G, which is true. That's one of the drawbacks of 5G is that because of the higher energy that goes into the wavelength, or at least the denser the wavelength, it's able to pack in more information, which is why I said power, but I should have said more information dense. And because it is denser, it is less likely to travel through different objects, including the human body. If you were concerned about 2G, 3G, or 4G causing cancer, you should be less so concerned with 5G causing cancer. Even though, hey, that's, there's never been any conclusive research to point to radio signals as a cause for health defects. They said, on the other hand, the comment process is there to give potentially meritorious claims and an opportunity to be heard so that the important decisions aren't made without considering whether evidence from members of the public want to bring into the discussion. But of course, the FCC is very good at ignoring public comments. So that's the end of that article. I did like that one a lot because, hey, it's again talking about the idea that 5G, it's not hurting you. It's not going to cause any problems. And yeah, so everyone, the music in the background is playing so softly. There you go. So softly that I didn't even hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about done for the day. I want to thank you, everyone in the chat room, everyone else, except for you. We're going to go ahead. There we go. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us in the chat room. And everyone, have a great day. Thank you. Catch you next time. Bye, everyone.